what's working for you right now, and what do you like about your dancers, aerialists, circus performers? Who are there other types of performers that you also work
Yeah,
with?
I kind of keep it open to whoever I find interesting. I would say the
Yeah. Oh,
main
cool.
four are hoop, pole, fire, and aerial.
Oh,
But like I said, we have like roller dancers and just like random other little things here and there. African dance
yeah.
is another big one. But anyways, I think what's working is for these people specifically is more so the direct pitches. And it's really difficult, and it's something that I still struggle with today. But being able to pitch somebody without having like a fully encompassed vision. So I actually
Hmm.
have somebody on my roster who's amazing at fire, and she has lots of videos of her doing fire, but it's another thing to actually bring a production to life with fire. And it's the same with aerial. I just don't have anybody on my roster who like choreographs aerial necessarily. So
Huh.
I think that's big for me, being able to relate to somebody who wants to do this big commercial for Nike, like how exactly is what they do going to contribute to your end goal. So I think
Yeah.
that's kind of the biggest thing that I'm running into. But long story short, like me being able to pitch these people and show exactly what they can do, that way they can try and envision it a little bit. I would say that is what is working.
So a big storytelling component on your part, huh?
Yes, very much
That's
so.
what it sounds like. That's so cool. That sounds so fun.
Yes.
Um, what are some of your main frustrations, if any, about the options that are out there right now? And by options, I mean of dancers or whoever you're bringing on.
For me, the biggest thing is like a mentality thing, and it's something that I really try to pinpoint when I do like interviews, or the other steps that it takes to get signed. But you just
Mhm.
never really know what a person is about, and how they're going to act on set, and how they're going to answer their emails and things like that. So as much
Mm.
as I can over the past 2 years, I've really tried to develop and curate a process that will give me a glimpse into that a little bit.
Mhm.
So like when we do the in-person auditions, like are they showing up on time? Do they look performance ready? Or are they showing up with no makeup and hair's looking a mess?
Right.
I also, when I send out emails, usually I'll do it like a two-step. So I'll have one of my interns send out the first email, and it says, you must reply to Payton at Briizy Talent Agency. And then it's a simple
Yeah.
person that they have to email, see if they can follow simple instructions, see how long it takes them to respond, because some of them
Yeah.
take a full week to respond, and that's just not something that's going to be acceptable for our agency.
Uh-huh.
And then obviously during the interview process, are they coming to the interview looking a hot mess, or are they coming looking professional and ready to have a conversation about business? And,
Yeah.
I think I do learn a lot during that process, but at the end of the day, you just never know. Are they going to update their casting networks? Are they going to answer their emails? Are they going to show up to auditions on time? So still a little bit of back and forth, but I'm trying to streamline that process.
Yeah, that's really interesting. I don't I haven't talked to anyone in your position yet, so that's really interesting to get that
Okay.
feedback about that. Yeah. What else you kind of talked about a little bit, but what's not working? And what are three things you feel could be improved, both with the bringing people on and then also once they're on your roster?
Yeah, I guess one thing that definitely needs to be improved is,
Mhm.
I guess, just an understanding, and that's kind of where my education comes into this. I'm so active on YouTube specifically because I just want people to have this information, and I feel like when you
Yeah.
don't have it, it's not just gatekeeping, but you're making my job harder because you don't know what it is that I'm expecting of you. So
Yeah.
number one is exactly knowing what I need from you, and then actually you providing that to me. I think another thing that needs to change is just an understanding of the pitch process. So this is something that I kind of mentioned previously, but it's one thing for me to just send an ad agency like your reel and your headshot and be like, hey, you should hire this person. Like it has to go so much deeper than that. So I do need, everybody wants to fight me on curated pitch decks or even social media, but they need to be able to see a vision. And if you're not providing me with all of the material to show them that vision, you're not going to get
Mm.
booked. It's going to go to the person who is putting in the work and who's going that extra mile to do this curated pitch deck. And of course, they're not quick. It takes a couple hours to do, but if it's something that you want, it's something that you're just going to have to do. So I think understanding the pitch process as well is something that needs to change. And then I think the third thing, maybe geared more towards artists and brand. Oh, hi, puppy dog. Oh my gosh, I love.
Thanks.
Anyways, I think the third thing is geared a little bit more towards like brands and artist managers and like people more in that space. But I do think they need to have a little bit more of an open mind. I think we've been stuck a lot in like just what works, which is commercial dance. But I see a lot of, not a lot, I see a couple of artists who are finding success by using ballerinas or who are using fire or LED is big right now. So I just think once you take a chance on somebody, you realize like how it really does work.
Yeah.
It can become mainstream and then everybody wants to do it, but it just takes somebody taking that chance. And unfortunately, a lot of people just aren't willing to take that chance. So that definitely needs to change.
It makes sense with because they want to bet on sure things. So that makes
Exactly.
sense.
Yeah.
Yeah. I would love to know, I don't know if this is already available on your YouTube, but a little bit about the pitch process. Then now
Yeah.
that it's up. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't think I've ever talked about that. So
Oh, great. Let's do it.
yeah, the pitch process, I definitely try to curate it to whoever it is I'm pitching. So obviously an artist is going to be different than a brand, but as
Hmm.
much as I can, I want it to be tailored. And of course, I do general outreach just because there are a lot of people on my roster, so I want everybody to have a fair chance. But if I know
Uh-huh.
somebody is going to be like perfect for this job, especially like when we do like EDC and like those kinds of uns uns music is what I call it.
Yeah.
That's a very specific thing. So I'm probably wanting to pitch more so my shufflers, my LED artists, maybe even fire if it's a night show. So that's kind of something that's in the back of my mind. Whereas if it's a pop artist, obviously I don't think fire or LED or even aerial is really going to be what they're looking for. They're probably just going to want, simple heels dance with girls who look hot, It's unfortunate, but that's what they want. So I think on my end, knowing who it is that I'm pitching and understand same if it's a brand if I know that the brand wants athletic people then maybe I won't go the heels route and I'll go a little bit more athletic maybe like hip hop or something maybe even contemporary or ballet depending on again the brand so anyways that's kind of the process with that I guess on the artist side I keep it very real with my roster. Again, I have a smaller roster compared to all the other major agencies, and so I'm kind of able to be a little bit more free with the information that I have. So
Hmm.
if I know that I'm going to pitch somebody, whether it be a brand or an artist, I will always loop them in and I'll say, hey, if anybody wants to do a pitch deck specifically for this person, let me know
Hmm.
and let's walk through it together. Like I said, it's not just about sending them your reel, which of course I can do on my own. I don't really need you guys for that. But if we can take it a step further and show them, like, hey, you have a live show on this stage, like, here's how we can set formations, here's what I want everybody to wear, here's the choreography that I have sampled, here's the music that I want to do it to. It really gives them the full vision and it makes it easier to say yes. Another thing is budget, and it's something that a lot of people just don't think about. But an artist, some of them are on very tight budgets and some have like free budgets. And so you need to be able to tell them, like, hey, for this amount of money, I can do this. And of course, there's going to be negotiations like, well, what if we take
Hmm.
this away? Could we maybe fit it into our budget? And that's always okay. But I think just having that baseline of like, can we even afford you and what you want to do to bring this vision to life? I think is something that we need to answer in the original pitch and not something that we do later. But yeah, in a nutshell, I think that's pretty much all of the pitch process.
Oh, cool. Wow. Um, so what do you think is the biggest pain for you right now about finding the right fit for any project?
I think this is going to be a silly answer, but when people don't fill out their profiles in the entirety, it makes it really difficult for me.
Wow.
We just
Hmm.
had a project come through and it was very, very specific. Like they wanted a specific shoe size, a very specific skill set, male and female, like very different things that they were looking for. And I should have had probably half of the roster that qualified for it, but because people failed to put their measurements or because they failed to put their special skills or whatever else, their availability, now they're all being excluded and it's not
Oh,
even intentional. But if you don't put, your shoe size in your profile, well, the computer's not going to put you into that role. And if
wow.
I don't know your shoe size off the top of my head, so I'm not just going to automatically submit you for anything. So I think,
Yeah.
yeah, as much as we can, it is on the talent. If you want to be submitted for things, you need to make sure that your profile is aced out and completed so that anybody who wants to work with you can work with you.
That's so interesting. Everyone I've talked to, a big thing has been read the email, fill
Yes.
out the form.
Yes.
complete the assignment. It's really interesting.
It's so simple and people just don't do it.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, so what would get better in your life if this was a non-issue? How would that improve everyone's lives?
Oh, I would be able to submit infinitely. So many people would get submitted to things that right now they're not being submitted to. So, like, that would be
Wow.
first and foremost. But then, secondarily, I think we would get more bookings because if now instead of submitting three people, I can submit 10, we have much better odds of actually booking that project now. So, yeah, on
Yeah.
my end, I want more bookings. So, the more people I
Yeah.
can submit, the better.
Yeah, definitely. Um, so what do you need to know to feel confident that the performer you're about to hire will deliver the results you want?
Hmm. I think there's definitely relationship building that needs to happen. And
Yeah.
I get it. There's some people who I sign, and it doesn't happen all the time, but I sign them and then like a week later they get their first job. And, it does make me a little nervous. Like I don't know if you're going to show up on time or if you're going to be respectful or if you understand
Right.
like the lingo that's used on set. So that makes me nervous. But at the end of the day, there's only so much that I can do. And I think, casting directors are still going to jump me if my talent doesn't do what they're supposed to. But at the end of the day,
Yeah.
I think they do understand that like I'm only an agent and there's only so much I can do. Like, I'm not their puppet master. I'm just the
Yeah.
person facilitating the job. So I think in that way they give me a little bit of grace, but as much as I can, like I said, I try to vet during that interview process, and through all the auditions and whatever else we might have going on. So I try to alleviate these issues, but of course,
Hmm.
you never know.
Yeah. So it's responding to emails, it's reading the email, it's
Mhm.
filling out the forms, it's all that kind of stuff. What other things performer wise are you looking for in that vetting process?
It's not really something that I can see during the vetting process,
Mm.
but how articulate somebody can be on the spot is important just because self-tapes are like taking over right now. We rarely get in-person auditions. So
Wow.
knowing that somebody can get in front of a camera, be asked a question, and like just respond like a normal human being. I think I have some people who try to be like super polished and you could tell that they're like reading from a script or like their eyes are going
Uh,
back and forth. Or some people who just cannot speak on the spot and they're like, yeah. So, just kind of understanding how they're going to be on camera and how a casting director is going to perceive them is another big one for me.
ooh, yeah. And so you're looking at reels, you're looking at self-tapes in the audition. Are there other things that
Um,
you're
Headshots are definitely important.
Mhm.
Headshots are actually usually the first and kind of only thing that a casting director is seeing from you.
Mhm.
Sometimes they go through and they'll look at your special skills and your resume and your reel, but 9 times out of 10, they're just going through casting networks. They're looking at headshots, and if your headshot is good and like the kind of character that they're trying to portray, they'll give you a
Mm,
self-tape, and if not, then you just kind of get passed over. So
okay.
headshots are definitely something that everybody needs to have something that's solid and can show different characters of yourself as well.
Different characters. What kinds of characters?
I always want a younger and an older.
Huh.
We get a lot of like Disney, Target, Walmart. So I obviously want something a little bit more juvenile. I always say like a blue background, yellow t-shirt, or like something bright and fun like that. Minimal makeup, probably like cute hairstyle. But
Yeah.
then I also need the complete opposite spectrum of that because, we do get auditions for Kiki Palmer or, the sexier type of artist. So in that case, I would want probably all black, showing a lot of skin, lots and lots of makeup, full glam. And then just like, I don't know, a brown or like something sexier for the backdrop. But then beyond that, it kind of comes down to your specific goals and the characters that you would like to play. I have a lot of people on my roster who can really portray a nerd character, but all of their pictures are high glam. So how is a casting director ever going to see you as a nerd if you only
Yeah.
have like cheerleader stuff on your profile?
Yeah.
And same for like, I have a lot of people who want to play like the tomboy or that's their personality is a tomboy, but then once again, all of their photos are high glam. So how are we ever supposed to envision you as like one of the guys? So I just
Yeah.
think understanding the type of person that you are, the type of personality that you have, the characters that you want to book, the artists you want to work with, the brands you want to work with, I think that's very telling of like what headshots you should have. But at the bare minimum, an older one and a younger one.
Hmm. That's good to know.
Yes.
Yeah. So how many headshots are people usually submitting?
I like five.
Five.
But
Mm.
again, if we can only get two out of you, I would take the younger and the older. But
Hmm.
yeah, I just feel like five is safer. I have a lot of people who are like cross-trained and everything, so it makes sense to have like a hip hop one and then a ballet one, a weird contemporary pose or something. If they're into acting, obviously we might want to go a little bit more theatrical with it. So.
Hmm.
I think to fully and capture everything that somebody wants to do, it's probably best to have five. But again, I
Wow.
can make two work.
Yeah. What is the average pay for an aerialist that you've seen so far?
That is tough. I would say if it's a music video, probably no more than 250, and that
Hmm.
is not great, something that we're trying to work on. But I would say for a commercial, that one also really varies. I would say the minimum is going to be probably 1500, but the
Hmm.
maximum, just depending on the type of commercial and whether it's SAG or not, it could go up of like 50,000. So, um,
Whoa.
yeah.
Are there any clients that you have, so like people that you put out on shows,
Mhm.
um, that frustrate you? And what are the things that are frustrating?
Yeah, I would say number one frustration thing is definitely responses, especially like casting is really getting on my butt lately about accepting or declining auditions before actually completing them. Because if you're not going to complete it, they need to find somebody else who will. So that's number one. And a lot of people, I'm like, please, can we answer this by end of day? And let's say I send out 10, maybe only five actually accept or decline by end of day. So that's
Hmm.
number one. Kind of ties back into communication. Like, are you reading the brief? Are you responding to my emails? That kind of thing. I
Yeah.
think number two is just not understanding the industry fully. And I know that's like a difficult thing for me to say as an agent who's like fully immersed in it. But if you don't understand like the lingo that's used on set or what is appropriate and what's not, I recently heard a story about one of my clients, unfortunately, and she was in rehearsal and I guess she made a big deal about the camera angle and how it wasn't a good angle. And it's like, okay, the choreographer is there to do a job. Like the camera angle of a rehearsal does not matter in this scenario. We need to be focused
Yeah.
on, are you retaining the choreography? And are you actually putting on a show, which is what they need of you? So, unfortunately, things like that, I get it. It might not be something that you think it's so little. Like, I just want the video angle to be better so that I can watch it at home and like understand what's going on. But at the same time, it's like we're all there to do a job. And if what you're saying about the camera angle doesn't actually improve your performance, let's not bring it up. Let's make the
Yeah.
choreographer's job easier, not harder.
Hmm.
And then also just like being a good person, I feel like, and I've heard this from choreographers all the time, but they say, when I bring somebody in, are they willing to be helpful? Like, oh, hey, I can hit play on your phone if it'll make your life easier, or oh, I can get the lights for you real quick, or I can plug that in. It just makes their lives easier and it makes them remember you because you're kind and you're
Yeah.
curious and you're willing to go out of your way to do something to make their life easier. So,
Hmm.
anyways, again, I know some of these things aren't like super obvious, but just think before you speak and act.
Yeah. I like that. Just be a genuinely good human
Yes,
also.
yes,
Yeah.
please.
Okay, so take me from the beginning through the end of you bring on a dancer or an aerialist or whatever,
Mhm.
and you bring them on. What's a dream scenario from bringing them on to completion or to them booking?
Yeah, yeah. I think it kind of depends where I'm bringing them on, where they're at in their career at that specific moment. If they're coming to me, and this is very few and far between, but if they come to me with already like amazing headshots, their reel is already perfect, a pretty good resume, at that point, I would hope that they are booking pretty quickly, because in that case, you just upload everything to casting networks, and I begin submitting you. Ideally,
Yeah.
you'll get a self tape or whatever, and it leads to a booking. So in that scenario fingers crossed, that's kind of how that looks. If you're coming to me more as like as developmental talent, I'm kind of looking at how quickly you can progress. So there's different stipulations that I have when I sign people. Some people it's headshot, some people it's their reel. Usually I don't make like resume a really big thing because of course, like as an
Okay.
agent, it's on me to help you develop that. But what I will say is training is another big one that people don't really think about. So if I see
Huh,
that you're training with the wrong people and the people who cannot get you booked, they might be making you a better dancer or fire artist or aerialist or whatever, but they're not actually contributing to your career, which are
interesting.
very different things. Yeah. So I just want to make sure that you're training with the people who can offer you opportunities in exchange for you training with them. And if
Wow.
that's not the case, we might want to cut back on training with that person and add in some other training with somebody who can help you reach your goals. So that's something that I do look at. Once again, it's kind of how quickly can we do these things? I always say if I'm going
Hmm.
to sign you with the stipulation of headshots, like you need to have the money right now so we can schedule within the next month. If it's something with a reel and it's a matter of getting new material, okay, you need to rent out studio space and get a videographer, bring 10 different outfits and shoot as much as you can, and then edit,
Hmm.
and we'll use that. Um, if it's something with training, obviously that's going to take a little bit longer just because you do need to kind of figure out who it is you want to be training with and then actually take the step of training with them. So I
Hmm.
think it depends per person. But once materials are aced out, it kind of becomes that same process of I'm going to start submitting you. Hopefully, you'll get some self tapes, you'll complete them, and then hopefully we get a booking from there. And then it would lead into contract negotiations, and then you get your call sheet, and then you actually work. So that
Yeah.
process is a lot more like email based. But yeah, I think that startup process and making sure that your materials are what I need to make you booked, I think that's like the most important part that a lot of people just kind of glaze over.
Yeah. So you mentioned development talent.
Mhm.
What are those people who haven't don't have very fleshed out resumes? Is that what you're saying?
Yes and no. There's some really talented people who just don't have good reels.
Hmm.
And it might just be that they don't know what exactly goes into a good reel. So in a case like that, I would also call them developmental talent, even though, it's just a reel. But in that case, usually it's just a lot of reformatting. So if they're
Mm.
already super amazing dancers, they should have a lot of material to pull from. And so then in that case, it's like, okay, do we know that it needs to be 90 seconds? It needs to be in landscape. Each clip can only be about 6 to 8 seconds. You need to have your intro page with your name. If you do any production value videos, you have to have the name of either the director or the producer, or whoever's putting this gig on. Just little things like that that maybe some people don't know, just making sure that they have that so that it looks up to industry standard like everybody else's. But essentially, developmental is just, do I need to do any work to make you submittable?
Got it. Yeah. And so you said resume doesn't matter too much, but what is a good resume? What kind of things are you looking for?
I personally, two things. If you are somewhat new to the industry, I definitely want to make sure that you have a lot of training, however that may look. And then I
Hmm.
also want to make sure that you have like a vast experience, whether that's like student films and live performances, music videos, whatever that may look like for that specific person. But then on the other end, if you are a little bit more seasoned, then I'm looking for more direction. I no longer want you just putting your toes in everything. I want you to kind of have a direction. Do you want to do live shows? Do you want to do commercial? Do you want to do artist work? Do you want to do brand work? Like, what is
Yeah.
it that you want from this relationship? So yeah, I think resume definitely depends on where you're at with your career, but just having something that I can work with.
Yeah. That's so that's really interesting. And very helpful to
Good.
hear, and I'm sure other people will find it helpful as well. But so for Aerialist specifically, you mentioned music videos and commercials. Are those the main things for Aerialist right now?
Yeah, pretty much. I don't see a ton of stuff like in TV shows or movies or anything like that. Yeah,
Hmm.
it's just not mainstream yet.
Yeah, totally. And then in terms of training with the right people, I'd love for you to expound on that.
Yeah, again, kind of depends. Since Ariel isn't super mainstream, I'm speaking a little bit more towards dance. However, I do think there's a way for like my fire artists, there's been a way that they have been able to kind of transition that, and I can talk about that. So there's
Yeah.
a couple people who are going to be very prevalent in the lane that you want to go in. So, if we're thinking like live shows, Tia Rivera, Fatima, those kinds of people come to the top of my mind. If we're talking about commercials, Nadine Olmo, Dina Thompson, those are the people that come to my mind. And then same with like artist work, depending on the type of artist, there's obviously a bunch of different lanes you can go down. But
Hmm.
when I'm thinking of these types of jobs specifically, I'm like, if it's the same 5 to 10 people who are doing all of this, these are the people that you want to be in their orbit. So even though you might be an aerialist, if you take a couple dance classes with them, get to know them after class, maybe if you have the funds for it, do a private. It can lead to something else like, oh my gosh, you do fire? That's insane. I've never like seen this in the works before. And then,
Yeah.
my clients like, oh, actually, I teach a fire class. Would you like to come for free? Then, this choreographer says, yes, I would love to. And then it leads to a relationship and now they want to work with you. So
Yeah.
even though the people in this scenario, it's a contemporary choreographer and my fire artist, them being able to collaborate in seemingly like an authentic way, even though, in the back of my mind, I've kind of planned this.
Yeah.
It leads to something really organic and a really nice relationship. And even though it might not be right for like the projects that she's working on right now, I know in the future she's going to want to incorporate fire because it is so cool. And it can be the same with Ariel. If you tell somebody like, hey, I do this, and you know that they have a lot of power in this industry, eventually they're going to be like, oh, like, how cool would it be if we could incorporate that into this commercial or this music video or
Yeah.
whatever? And,
Hmm.
it just leads to really interesting things. But I think just knowing who the power players are in this industry, that way you can get into their orbit, I think is important. Another thing I'll say about smart training is usually the sold out classes are not the classes that I would be referring to in this
Yeah.
smart training stuff. I don't want to name names because I feel like it's a little bit rude, but I know like 5 choreographers who work very closely with Disney Channel specifically, and like who doesn't want to be on Disney Channel? And if you look at their classes, they only have like 5 to 10 people in every single class. And it's like, again, like I don't want to be rude. There's no shade there, but I just think dancers and performers maybe aren't utilizing the resources that are out there to the fullest potential. If this person can
Yeah.
offer you a spot on Disney Channel, why are we not training with them? Like it just doesn't make
Yeah.
sense. So, anyways, that's my 2 cents.
Yeah, I'm hearing a lot of relationship building,
Yeah,
and the capacity for that in
right.
your performers and everything, because that's important in any industry, but especially in this one. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah.
Hmm. And being personable, I'm sure, as well.
Yeah, yeah. I think people create relationships. I don't want to say with the wrong people because, any relationship in your life is probably good. But I
Yeah.
think if you're training with the same person every single day of
Yeah.
the week, it doesn't leave any time for you to go train with the people who can offer you something in return. So, of course, keep those relationships that you already have built, but like also try to expand so that you can advance your career.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah. Um, I feel like a lot of these answers are things that people wouldn't actually think of. So again, I really appreciate your time
Good. Yay.
on this. Yeah. When you've scouted someone, what jumped out at you?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I think stage presence is definitely number one, but I also take it a step further. So if I know who the choreographer is, I'll actually approach the choreographer first and I'll say, like, how was it working with this person? Like, I really enjoyed her performance or his performance, and can you tell me a little bit more? And also, it's a little bit of me making sure that I'm not poaching as well.
Yeah.
Just because, a lot of these dancers who are super amazing and that pull focus on stage, they are already represented. So just making sure, we can take care of that first.
Yeah.
And then if the choreographer has good things to say and the person's not represented, then of course I would take the next step. But I think when you're just looking at somebody on stage, there's not a whole lot that you can pull from. Especially that they've been rehearsing the number for probably weeks, if not months.
Yeah.
It's not really something that I can watch. Retention, which is obviously something that's really important for this industry. But it's a whole lot of just stage presence and who kind of pulls my eye when you're looking at this group of people who are all doing the same thing, who pulls my attention.
Yeah. That's awesome. Um, how do you, this might be repetitive, but whatever you take from the question is great. How do you judge if a performer is good or bad or right or wrong for you?
Yeah, that's hard. I would
Mm.
say I usually know who's wrong for me, just based on how do I say this nicely? Usually there's not a lot going on in the face. They're looking
Uh-huh.
around, even though you know that they've been working on this choreography for a while, they're still not quite there. I
Mm.
think especially for somebody like me, it's really easy to point out who has the technique and who just doesn't. Even if they might be doing all the choreography correctly, you'll see like, look at their toes, they're not pointed, or
Uh,
I don't know, look at their arms, like everybody else's arms are right by the ears and theirs are like over here, you know? So just stupid little things like that I can pick up on pretty quickly. So usually I know who's like not for me. I
mm,
think when it comes to like who is for me, I think it just kind of goes back to stage presence. There's not a lot of other things that I can really judge upon in a setting like that. But yeah, I guess I know who I don't want.
yeah. It sounds like a lot of this. Did you dance?
Yes, yeah, yeah,
Nice. Yeah, that makes sense.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, a lot of it seems like also intuition and rapport on your
Yes,
part.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah, just getting a sense for the person.
exactly,
Yeah.
yeah.
What's a key motivator for you in looking to book this kind of performer?
Hmm. It kind of depends for me. Yeah, this one really just depends because there's some people who are so extremely talented, but they're just like not good people, or maybe they're not good
Oh, yeah.
business people. And somebody like that, you could be the most talented person in the world, but I don't want to work with you if I can't count on you.
Yeah.
And same vice versa. There's some people who I have signed who I know they're not the most talented person in the room, but I know that they're really freaking amazing to work with, and it's just like a joy to work with them every single day and to be able to submit them and watch their career grow over however much time we're together. So I think for me, it is a lot about like personal relationships, unfortunately, and a little bit less about talent. But of course, talent's what gets you in the door. So we need to have that. But yeah, I think it's really personal.
Yeah. Have you ever dropped anyone from your roster? And what if you can say it generally, but
Yeah,
like what happened there?
I've dropped a few people over the past couple of years, and usually it's all pretty much the same thing. Number one for me is communication. If we go like 4, 5, 6 months without talking, like that
Yeah.
you're not doing anything for the roster, I'm not doing anything for you, like vice versa, it's just not working. So it's probably just best to terminate at this point.
Yeah.
Some other reasons I would say again, it kind of goes back to professionalism. So like I said, on Casting Network specifically, casting directors are on me about making sure that we accept or decline and then we complete in a reasonable time. So I do occasionally go through all the talent, and I'll look at their rates and I will actually tell them what their rates are because if they're not good, I would like for them to work on it. And if they don't work on it, then it's like, at least I've done my part and I've told them what's wrong. But you go
Yeah.
through and some people, they haven't accepted or declined or like answered, they just completely ignore all of their auditions. Some
Yeah.
people accept them, but then they don't complete them. And again, that makes casting directors mad at me.
Yeah.
There's just like a variety of things specifically on casting networks or with any audition for that matter, I guess. If you're not pulling your weight and you're not delivering what casting's asking from you, you're
Yeah.
making me look bad. And so I can't have that on my roster. But I wouldn't
Mhm.
say I've ever had like a fight or like anything crazy or anything like that. I'm
Yeah.
sure it could happen in the future, but at least for right now, it's usually communication or professionalism.
So it's a natural, usually it's been like a natural kind of ending where it's
Yeah.
kind of mutual because it's
Yeah,
on both ends. Yeah, that
definitely.
makes sense. And you primarily work with casting networks. So the performers make a profile and you submit them through casting networks is
Yes.
usually how it's done. Got it.
Mhm.
Yeah. What do you wish performers in this industry understood about you?
I think number
Yeah.
one, this is a partnership. I think a lot of people join an agency, and I think I kind of alluded to it earlier, but people join agencies thinking like, I've done it. I have it made. Now I'm just gonna get bookings. They're gonna get handed to me. And that's not what this is at all. Like I'm here to help you get those bookings, yes, but I'm not your servant and I don't work for you. This is supposed to be a partnership. And
Yeah.
I think in a lot of cases, I feel like I want things more than they do. And so here I am putting in all the work. And if they're not doing their auditions, they're not doing their self-tapes, they're not, whatever it is that I'm asking, if they're not doing it, why am I putting in so much work
Yeah.
when you don't care about your own career? But I definitely think that's like number one. People sign and they're like, that's it, I've made it. And then they don't fix their reels, they don't get new headshots, they don't train, like they just assume
Yeah.
things are going to be handed to them. And yeah, I don't deal with entitlement very well. So understanding that
Mhm.
this is a partnership, you're not entitled to be submitted for things. Yeah.
Definitely. Specifically for I know you haven't worked with too many aerialists, but
Mm.
with the aerialists that you have worked for and do look for. Um, you mentioned 5 different types of headshots for dancers, and different characters and things. What kinds of looks are you looking for with an aerialist or vibes?
Yeah, I think we definitely want to maintain like the traditional commercial look just because they're going to want to see your face and what it is that you look like. I would also say a full body shot once again, just so we can see what you look like. But I
Hmm.
think for some of like the specialty photos, as much as we can get with your prop is very, very important. So like I said, I do have a lot of fire and hoop, and so making sure that we have photos with both the hoop and with the fire is very important. Like Tulsi, for one, I know
Yeah.
you know her. She has a couple of shots in her silks. So I
Yeah.
just think whatever you can showcase, I have a dance background, but I don't necessarily have a fire or hoop or an aerial background, or even pole for that matter. And so when it comes to that, there's not like a whole lot of guidance that I can give. But I will
Yeah.
say as much as you can show like something cool, and I know that's like very general, but that's what casting directors want. They're like, oh, like that's a really cool trick. I like that could be in a
Yeah.
commercial, you know? So you just have to
Yeah.
show them why they should book you, basically.
Probably a split as well, usually.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
They love splits.
They do. Flexible.
Yeah. 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 Okay. So if you can, I don't know if this applies, let's see. If you cannot see a performer live before committing,
Mhm.
what is the most important thing to gain your trust?
Yeah, there's actually a lot of people that I sign without seeing in person,
Oh, wow.
which is kind of crazy. One of my top producers, I just saw her live at Carnival last month. So, anyways, that was crazy. Like, I book you on all these things, and I've just never seen you perform. But anyway,
Wow.
I digress. I think it kind of goes back to the real. That's kind of the only thing that I have to go off of. But I will also say that social media is becoming a little bit more and more important to me. Just because usually your reel is like the most polished version of yourself. And so it's really
Yeah.
difficult to see like what does your retention actually look like and how do you like who do you work with and stuff like that. Whereas if you go on their social media, they have, oh, training with this person on Monday and training with this person on Tuesday, and I did 5 classes on
Yeah.
Wednesday, and you can see exactly how dedicated they are to their craft.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think social media is definitely starting to become a front runner for me.
Wow. What do you look for on social media? So a diversity of training,
Yeah.
commitment.
I want to know who you're
uh,
training with. Are they somebody that's like reputable in whatever it is that you do?
Yeah.
I also want to know like who are you as a person? And that's not to say that because there's a couple of people I have signed that work in like nightlife. But for most of the commercials and family friendly things that we do, that requires a specific social media. So just kind of understanding who it is that I'm signing and like what it is that their goals are. Like, some of the
Yeah.
people, if they came to me and told me I want to do Disney and you've got all these tattoos and you're posting inappropriate things on social media, that probably doesn't align. But if you're telling me you want to do fire in like a nightclub or in a music video or on an EDC stage or whatever, like obviously that aligns a lot more. So
Yeah.
just kind of making sure it aligns with what their specific goals are.
Wow. That's something I never would have thought of.
Yeah. Please support.
I think those are all my questions. Is there anything else you would like to share that you feel like is missing from
No,
anything?
I think
We've
you were
covered a
very
lot.
thorough. I
Okay,
wasn't
good.
expecting all these questions. I love it.
Yeah.
So much content.
Yeah, good.
But no, I don't think I have anything else. Yeah, I guess just like make sure your relationship with your agent is a partnership and that you know what's expected of you, but your agent also knows like what's expected of them and your goals and where you want to be in life. But yeah,
Yeah.
I think that's it.
And then okay, so then for me and also other performers, what is your next process? If you have open castings, is that what is the
Yeah, I keep
process? Yeah.
everything open on our website,
Okay.
breezytalentagency.com.
Yeah.
You can submit on there 24/7. I only do reviews once a month, usually the first of the month, or if it's a weekend, just the third or whatever.
Yeah.
But yeah, I leave them open all the time. You can submit as many times as you would like. I have some people who right now you can't be a fit because I just have too many people that look like you on the roster. But
Yeah.
2 months from now, if you resubmit, you might be the perfect fit. So I say
Yeah.
continue to submit.
Cool. I love it. Thank you so much.
Of course. Thank you.
Yeah.
This is great.